Hey guys, welcome back to 4-Wheel Builds. Today we'll start working on a 2021 Volkswagen T-Cross. I've been very busy. I've been getting some parts. I'll show you those in a minute in the garage, and we'll get some of those parts and we'll start changing it over in the engine bay. Now this might not look like much, but there's quite a number of boxes, plus there's obviously boxes already at the workshop. I believe there's a headlamp somewhere in there. I think that's a left-hand side fender. So now let's get these boxes and let's get them packed in my rubble bus and get them transported to the workshop. So I have been very busy just chasing these parts down, and we've got about 80% of the parts that are needed purchased. Okay, so now let's lock everything up, and when we get to the workshop I'll show you what we've got in those boxes. Okay, I've arrived at the workshop, so let's get all those parts out and let's take a look as to what we have. Guys, behind me we've got about 80% of the parts that we need to put this T-Cross back together. Now the only other thing I'm really on the lookout for is a front bumper. I've got a lead. Unfortunately it's not the color that I need, but well, it's the best I can do at this point in time, and we'll need to get painted. Okay, so now let's get a knife out and start cutting these boxes open. And here we have the air filter box. To give it a nice quick wash, and that should be good to go. And here we have a new second-hand fuse box. Ooh, and here we have some cable management, battery base, and here the fan connector. And here we've got one of these support braces up the top, but well, first of all I can see this is all rusted. Well, it's not all rusted, but it's got some rust here. Plus it's all bent up here, as you can see. Not sure if you can see that. That's not what I wanted, because that should not be like that. Okay, so this needs to go back. Yeah, we've got a brand new fluid reservoir. Left halogen light. It has been repaired, but I was made aware that it was repaired. Seems like a sturdy job, plus you won't be able to see that anyway. And in this box we've got a left hand side front LED headlamp. It's got a whole lot of grease and stuff on it, so, and it does come with two repaired tabs. So there's one there, and there's the second one right there. Here you can see the full radiator pack that I purchased. That includes the radiators, the plastic trim, the rebar, and the foam padding that goes behind the front bumper. So now some of the parts are really dirty, so what I want to do is actually get them out of the boot, get them cleaned up before we install it back onto the car. One of my pet hates is working with dirty parts, so why not just clean them up?
With the left lamp, before we start actually cleaning it up, what I want to do is actually just move all these modules across from the old lamp onto the new one. That will ensure that we don't get any moisture inside. And with a little bit of elbow grease, that lamp came out real nice. It's nice and clean. All that grease is now gone from the headlight. I don't know why that grease was there, but it wasn't pretty. All the modules are transferred across, so essentially this lamp is ready to go back onto the car. For the moment, I'll wrap it back up in the foil just to make sure it's protected. And it is a few days later, and we're back at the 4 Wheel Builds workshop. As you saw, most of the parts have now arrived, come in. There's that nice orange bumper bar. Let me give you a better look. So what's left to do now? Start piecing this car back together. Before I start removing the parts and refitting the new ones, let's maybe just take this hood off to get, first of all, more light and better access to the engine bay. So it's just a 14mm bolts or nuts. They need to be unscrewed. But also what I need to do first is disconnect all the window washer connections. And now that we've taken off the hood, we've got good access and good light to see everything. So, where do we start? I think going by what I'm seeing here, I think we need to remove the battery and then remove that support bracket for the battery. I think that's the starting point. And then they taking out a battery these days out hard. There's a connector that I needed to disconnect right there. Now there's a whole lot of fuses here, or some connections out here, and I believe I need to remove this bolt in order to remove this plate, and then I'll be able to remove the actual terminals from the battery and take the battery out.
Now as we have a lot of the parts in, let's start changing them over.
Okay, and there's the broken battery support tray. Okay, we can now mount the battery back up. In preparation to clean up the fuse box, I've removed the guts of it, so to speak, and to remove that it's a matter of just pressing these 1, 2, 3, 4 tabs and just slowly working this up. Plus you've got to cut the actual zip tie that's holding the wiring loom wiring in place as it's coming in here. Alright, and with that battery tray now changed over, next thing to do is get onto this fuse box and get that replaced, because as I've shown you, it's cracked there. So in order to do that, what I need to do is actually remove the computer. Now to remove the computer, you should just be able to pull this up in the holder, and voila. Now I did disconnect the terminals from the battery just to make sure I don't have any power before I get onto the fuse box. And now I've got good access to these two 10mm nuts that I need to undo in order to be able to free up this fuse box. Now, but before I do that, I need to take the guts out. Now I need to cut this zip tie right here, and then lift up those tabs so I can pull the whole, I guess, fuse plate or board out. And here's the fuse box now that's been removed. A couple of things. That rear nut you don't actually have to remove, that only holds the bracket for the ECU. You only need the front here. And secondly, before you put the actual new cover in, make sure you put the zip tie in there so you can hold the wiring loom once you put everything back. Okay, so this goes behind like so, and there's a extra bracket in the rear there as well. So this has these tabs, so they slide over, so it's held in place. It's held in front. Okay, and now we can secure it in place. Okay, the last thing I want to get done today is get this, I think it's a oil, either temperature or pressure sensor. There's the connector for it, and as you can see that's broken out from there, so the actual sensor needed to replace that. So the connector is good, but the sensor is bad. Okay, so that's replaced. Alright, so that's another thing done. Okay, and the next thing we have is this fan connector. How I want this broken, so we have to dip in this one and actually move, get the connector from here onto the car. So I'm not a deep pinning expert, but I've got these tools. Okay, so how do we actually go about deep pinning this? So I need a flat head screwdriver, a very thin one, or one of these tools. Essentially just stick that in there, and I should go on there. There's two of these holes, so you should go on both sides to get this unlocked, and voila. So that's unlocked now. Now actually, before I go ahead, let me just document as to where these cables, how they actually go, because obviously we need to put them back in the same sort of order, on the same place on the car. Okay, and we've got the plug unpinned, so all the wires are out. So guys, maybe just let me show you how this looks like. It's the bigger plug. So you're trying to push these side tabs in. I'm not quite sure if you pick them up. Are these essentially? So you need to push these in to be able to get this out. Okay, so now let's get the plug. Let's take off the one that we have on the car and get these changed over. And here's the plug that we have on the car. So you just need to get this depinned, remove this plug and put that replacement one on. fair amount of finagling, I finally got that last pin out. It did take a while. It was just, for some reason or another, I just got stuck. All the other ones came out really nicely, and that last one, well, it just turned out to be a real pain in the ass. But we got it out finally, and we got that plug now swapped out. So I got the cover on. Let's get some of these textile electrical tape, put it around there, then get a zip tie on there just to secure it and make it look like original. Alright, and the plug is now fully repaired. It's ready for a radiator fan to be connected up. Okay, so next thing we're going to do is get this bracket right there, which I've got a replacement for. This one's bent, and plus the actual clip for to hold the hoses is also broken, so we need to get this replaced as well. We've got that bracket secured, and now the hose is maintained, it's not squished, and the bracket has actually cleaned up this whole area. Nothing's actually pushing against each other anymore, which is fantastic. This is what we really wanted. Okay, so the only thing that's really left to do now is, next thing I'm going to do is install this air filter box. And the air filter box, I mean, it's just a push on affair for the bottom bit. So if we grab that, that should really just fit on like so. And the bottom one right there. Okay. Alright, well that's on. And it's a matter of getting that top fitted up. I need to push it in there. And what we need to do, oh there we go, got it done. Put the cover on. Obviously secure this clamp down and secure all these in. And voila, our engine is back together, ladies and gentlemen. All we really need now is for the body shop to take this car and straighten up this frame rail. So I'm not quite sure if I told you, but we had the body shop out here. They've checked, they measured up the frame rails up against the whole front rebar and the support, and this rail needs to be pulled out about 1 centimeter. Not much at all. So hopefully they'll be able to get this taken away in about a week and a half maybe. Get it straightened up, and then we can start putting everything else back together and get this T-Cross back on the road. And whilst we're here, we did get some additional parts in. So let's check out what we got. So the first part we got, it's the left hand side bumper bar bracket. And this is the right hand side, I think, bracket that goes about there. We did get a crappy one of these that was all rusted and was all bent up. Over here, this one's quite nice and can be put on the car. Now I have a bit of a mess going on here, so I want to get rid of the old hood. I've transferred the insulation out. There's a couple of other things I need to transfer across. So all these rubber grommets plus these hood locks. So let me get some tools out and we'll transfer these across, and that way we can get rid of this old hood. Okay, we've got all the parts, all the locks, all those grommets, all bolts, transferred from across the old hood to the new one. The old hood has left the building now, and there's a little bit more room to play with. So now what I like to do is actually do the same with this front bumper bar. Take all the good parts off, anything that I want to transfer onto a new one, and then get rid of this old crap from here. Alright, I've scavenged through this front bumper, and look what I've been able to get. So this is the actual mounting bracket for the halogen light. That's for the right hand side, and that's the bezel or the trim for the halogen. I have this, but what I can do is actually put it up on eBay and sell it. Mounting bolts for the bracket, which is great. Two of these parking sensors. These are on the right hand side, so I've got to still buy two of these. These are, I guess, just covers for the front parking sensors, the two center ones. So I've got that. A whole bunch of bolts that hold the underbody bits and pieces. A whole lot of other screws. Mounting brackets or mounting bolts for the left hand side halogen. Now I've also got the bracket. The bracket's broken, but I've been able to now get the actual part number, which is right there. So I'll be able to get that ordered, number plate. And one of the most important things is I actually got the entire wiring loom for the front parking sensors. So these are quite expensive, so it's fantastic that we've got these. All the plugs are good, so we'll be able to just get them installed. So now what I can do is I can get rid of this old bumper, get this out of the way. Always good to scavenge through these things. Bolts, you'd be amazed how many times you'd come up and you're missing a bolt or two. It's most likely going to be one of these. And since we've scavenged all these parts, let's get them on to the new bumper, so don't actually get those lost. And guys, check this out. I've been able to go through with this right hand light, right hand halogen light, plus all the brackets, the parking sensors on the right hand side, plus I still need to buy these and fit that in. I've got the halogen, but I haven't got the bracket to hold the halogen in, so I just got to purchase that, mount that in. Those two parking sensors, and essentially I think, oh, and there's actually a radar that needs to go behind that, so that takes care of, I guess, the cruise control and ensuring that the adaptive cruise control is able to maintain the distance between the car in front of you. But apart from that, the bumper bar is nearly ready. It's nearly on complete. I've got the wiring loom for the parking sensors all mounted up on the inside. So obviously this side still needs to be sorted out. Will be once we get that bracket in and there's parking sensors. Guys, and let's end today's episode on that note. The engine bay of our 221 T-Cross, Volkswagen T-Cross, is pretty much ready. The only thing I will need to do is actually just order some oil and an oil filter and get that changed, since we have such good access to that at this point in time. The other thing now is the interior. I have to get that dashboard removed alongside with all the airbags, plus all 4 seat belts. Get that out, get that fixed up and get it replaced in there. And we're obviously still waiting for the body shop to come and take this car away essentially. And I think shortly after that we should get it back and be able to start putting everything back together and get this car back on the road. So guys, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, please consider subscribing. It's going to help me and the channel out enormously. leave a comment. I love reading your comments. Leave me a like if you really like the content. And I'll see you guys in the next episode. See you guys then.